Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you.
This is part 2 of a 2-part series with a grandma on a mission. We pick things up right after she spoke about being present in the moment.
But the good, powerful system is so powerful for kids to start to recognize, and they literally connect to it and they enjoy it, and parents remember it again, and the teachers they'll say, oh, yeah, I need this as much as the kids do. Is what I hear often, and often I hear, do you have an adult version of this program? And I explain to them, this is the adult version, to come back to your childlike wonder, to come back and share with your children and, tell them. Like, I think one of the reasons my kids, did fairly well is I would tell them when I did something wrong or something, that they did. And I said, oh yeah, I remember I did something just like that when I was a kid, and that gives them comfort, like, oh gosh, we're all in the same tribe, people make mistakes. They, and then what we do is we take those mistakes and we get the wisdom. When we bring the wisdom out of it, what could we do differently next time? Or, maybe we'll do it a couple of times because your brain, has got that habitual pattern. But if kids can say, oh man, I fell back into my habits. I wasn't aware, that gives them tools. It gives them something to say, yeah, I see I made a mistake, but now I understand now what I did, and what we tend to do is punish bad behavior. No, let's look at it. Let's explain it. Tell what was going on with you. Where were you? And then love them. Love them. Sorry, my phone went off. Love them to that place of comfort where they know they matter. My children, I had a while, I call them the 4 free spirits. And they'd get expelled and they'd get all kinds of things, because they weren't meant to sit in a seat for 6 hours and listen to somebody, And so, they'd kick them out. And I think, well, what are you kicking them out for? And of course, I would put them to work, hey, let's clean the carpets today. Let's do this and let's do that, but that isn't good discipline. Good discipline is to go in and say, tell me what you were thinking. What happened? How were you feeling? Do you think you'll do that again? Well, I might, it's a kind of a habit of mine. And then you start to work with the tools and get that. So refreshing. So good to see that. And then the
other 3.
And then the other 3 we'll go through quickly because I don't know where our time is. But the next one is observation, because in observation, you are in the present moment. You're looking at something. You're getting communication with your observation. You're checking things out, and observation is, I think, one of the most powerful things. And when we talk to kids and we say, how people like to people watch, and you like to look at, how people are doing, you can learn so much, because in observation, what we're doing is we're seeing how the other person is broadcasting their thoughts. Our brains are like radios. And so they're broadcasting, and you can think, oh, that person makes me feel a little uncomfortable, or, oh, I really like to get to know that person, And we can do that. We can apply observation to nature. You can apply it to your community, your relatives, and everything. Observation is so important for us to understand and to really go deep into it. The next thing we teach is perspective. And perspective is just saying to kids, hey, not everybody thinks like you do. It was a long time. I was married to my husband for a long time, and we were figuring out a math problem or something, and I came up with the answer, and he goes, no, I have the answer. He goes, how did you get it that way? And I looked at him and I said, oh my gosh, we don't think the same way, do we? Here I was married for all these years, but we don't talk about those things. But, nobody thinks like you do. You're totally unique. And when we look at perspective, we look at a person's experience. And then we can start to recognize, oh, that's why their behaviors are that way, or that's why they believe that. And it takes us down to that tender space of empathy and understanding and appreciating a person for right where they're at, and respecting and valuing who they are in that moment. This would change the world. This is the beginning of kindness, in my opinion.
Yeah, and tolerance and other things. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
heightening
And
tolerance.
maybe not tolerance, because when we're standing in tolerance, there's still an energetic feeling in us, like they're not quite doing it right.
Oh, well, true.
What I
That's
want
true.
to, yeah, and what I want to do
That's
is
true.
take it to the next step and say, I get your experience and I appreciate who you are. How can we collaborate? Instead of that
Mhm.
competitive stuff that we have in schools, that just drives me crazy. How can we collaborate? That's why I would love to see schools much more project based, where everybody gets together and
Mhm.
builds something or does something like that. So, anyways, the last thing we have is truth. I don't have their
Mhm.
truth. I don't know their truth. I don't know what it is. But I've given you 7 ingredients to frame your own moral compass and to give you the ability to navigate your challenges and your achievements. It's up to you to find your truth, how that looks. And we've given you tools to look at nature, to look at other people, to look at your environment, to look at who you are and how you feel about yourself. I'm not about to spoon feed somebody and say, this is the way it should be, because that's why we're here. Life is
Mhm.
about experiencing the big story that you chose to understand in this lifetime. And truth comes from that experience of your mistakes, of your wisdom, of your people that you surround yourself with, and so forth. So that's the 8 life ingredients. Hi, my name is Deb Kelly, and I'm a grandmother on a mission. I'm on the Making It Last podcast with Noreen Daly. We're going to take a break to hear word from our partners.
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you.
You can't live your best life without a healthy immune system. Boost your immune system the delicious way with Zappy's organic juices and punches. Made from local produce with zero added sugar, our juices cleanse and revitalize your body as they boost your natural immunity. Try our delicious flavors: Beat It, Berry Bomb, Get Fresh, Ton Up, and Island Splash. Find us on Instagram at Zappy's Organics, or call or send a WhatsApp message at 1-876-779-8910 to order today. That's 1-876-779-8910. Zappy's Organic Juices and Punches. Live your best life today.
Is that true? What the kid put up on this side?
Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Buddy program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at landolanguage@gmail.com, because the real question is, how can we help you?
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you.
Welcome back to the Making It Last podcast with Noreen Daly. My name is Deb Kelly, and I'm a grandmother on a mission. So let's continue the conversation.
What I'd love, don't have the time to find out how is it you specifically decided on these 8, but how has all of this impacted on your own relationships? the fact that you develop this program. Yes, and it's primarily towards children, but it is definitely something that we all can benefit
Yes.
from. But how has all of this impacted on your relationship? Just having all of these things in mind as you go throughout life.
Well, quite honestly, about 8 years ago or more, these words were kind of put in my brain, and I wrote them down, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these? And I kept looking at them. So over 8 years, they've become alive and real in my world. And I use them every single day. And what I'm finding is I'm a much more aware person of other people's thoughts, of their feelings. I am more accepting people that, like I'll go up to a homeless person and start talking to them. Tell me about your life. Where were you going? What were you doing? And years ago, I probably would have walked by and said, hey, sorry, buddy, here's $5. But it's the relationships, connecting with people, getting them and supporting them. One day there were a couple of guys sitting there, and I said, what kind of sandwiches do you like? And they told me, so I went in and bought some sandwiches and gave them to them. They said, oh, thank you, you're the best. And I said, no, I just care about you and where you've been and what you're doing. Those are the kind of synchronicities that will move into my life now. I have children that are very successful, very good people, and all of that. And they look at me like, you're never a prophet in your own land. Like, it's mom, it's crazy stuff, But I have the understanding now of why they think the way they do and where they're going. And I just always move myself into love and just keep spreading love with them and to help them by giving them a level playing field. I was a horrible judge, Noreen. I was a dictator in my life. And one day I was wagging my finger at my older daughter and complaining, and I heard a voice from the other room, and it was my husband, and he said, all you have to do is love them. Wow. My whole body was charged with this energy, and I was like, I thought I was loving her. And it took me to another place to become a guide. Wow. And I'm still learning how to be a guide. Wow. Dictatorship comes much easier. But that is to be a guide, and that's all we want to do with our children, because they have the capacity, they have the brilliance. You've seen children. I just recently watched that movie where the young girl was 14 years old and she sailed the boat around the world all by herself. I don't know if you've seen that, but I think I've heard of it. I just haven't watched the movie. Yeah, she had the capacity to do that, and there's a little boy right now on one of the channels, and he's 6 years old and he can play 6 instruments, and he does his own programming of the music and all of that. We have so much potential. And I always couldn't stand that, because my teachers say, oh, she has so much potential. And I think, well, what is it? But we as humans have been told, we're not good enough. There's something missing here. And that isn't true. That's one of those thoughts that isn't true. We have so much capacity and we have so much genius. And here's what the sad thing that happens, and this really affected me in my life, but really, when you're asking how did these things affect you, I play Mother Earth on Lake Tahoe every year, and I have all the little kids, and we talk about Mother Earth and what she can do. One day I had the kindergartners there, and I said, okay, guys, who's a genius? And they're all like, yeah, I'm a genius. The next year I had third graders. They go, all right, who's a genius? Well, she's pretty smart. And that, do you see, from the time they're 5 to the time they're 8, they lose that wonderful childlike awareness. And we know around 7, kids their brains start to change, from that whimsical, wonderful, they're being programmed by their parents and their environment and so forth. And then about 7, they start to go like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? There's more here than meets the eye. And and they start to to close in a little bit and have self-doubt and I'm not enough. And,
Mm.
you know, because they're not always holding on to mom's hand anymore. You know, they're out there on their own. So, yeah, in 3 years, you can see that drop, and it was stunning to me. I was just like, what? And I kept doing it with third graders to see, and they were all like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Life Ingredients has fulfilled my life in such extraordinary ways. And I can say, you know, that not in an egoic place, but in a
Mhm.
place I've been graced with these wonderful things to share with young people and adults. And I truly am a grandmother on a mission. I really believe that as we begin to seed this into our children, they will become more aware and they will create that kinder world.
Excellent note for us to end on. Thanks so much for sharing, Deb.
Thank you. I loved it. It was just wonderful and a joy to get to know you a little bit.
This was Making It Last podcast. It was all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. I'm Marie Daly. Until next time.
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you.